Help It. From bringing the wrong weapon to a fight to Oscar-winning psychopaths, we look at 15 iconic movie moments that were actually improvised. Number 15. Leave the gun, take the cannoli, The Godfather. The Mafia epic actually has a few improvised moments, including the cat sitting on Don Corleone's lap near the beginning of the film. But it's the epic take the cannoli line that makes the cut. Originally, the line was meant to be absent from the scene, but actor Richard Casliano came up with the line in a beautiful moment of quick thinking, using the improv to play off a line in the previous scene, showing that the cold-hearted mafia will not only murder you, but they'll also deny you sweet Sicilian pastries as well, which makes a death sentence seem merciful. You'll pry my cannoli from my cold dead hands. The only thing that can stop a bad guy with a cannoli is a good guy with a cannoli. No, wait, I got one more. Is that a cannoli in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Number 14. Game over, man! Aliens. This iconic line from James Cameron's action-packed Alien sequel was about as pre-planned as giving birth to a newborn xenomorph. Originally, the scene was way more toned down, with Hudson only kicking around some rocks and quizzically asking what the crash-stranded team was going to do now. But actor Bill Paxton decided that the scene needed more freaking the fuck out and gave the film one of its best moments that didn't include a power loader. Number 13. Gun vs. Sword. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Here we have a bad situation from Indy's first adventure that turned out to be a blessing in disguise, with one moment that sums up the character perfectly. Indy is confronted with a skilled swordsman who shows off his skills quite impressively, but instead of taking him on in a sword fight, Dr. Jones shoots him point blank and shrugs it off as to say that guy was a dickhead. Turns out in the script there was a long sword fight and it was only dropped due to Ford getting food poisoning the night before and he couldn't perform the scene as needed. So in a moment of comedic brilliance, the scene was changed and presto, pure Indiana Jones. Co-written by the craft service member who left the mayonnaise out in the sun. Number 12. Warriors, come out to play. The Warriors. This cult gang film features some of the most awesomely crazy street gangs like the Baseball Furies and one iconic improvised line. After hunting the Warriors all night, the Rogues are waiting for them on their home turf, Coney Island. To announce the trap, gang leader Luther cries out the iconic line while clinking beer bottles together. Contrary to what's most commonly reported, the line was definitely improvised, but not by actor David Patrick Kelly, but by director Walter Hill. Even though Hill credits Kelly with coming up with the line, the actor has stated that he can only take credit for the beer bottles. Number 11. The Joker's Detonator, The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger really did throw himself into the role of the Joker with ultimately tragic results, but there were a few laughs along the way. Along with the slow-motion clapping during the prison break, Ledger also improvised a broken detonator scene. The random moment really helps to capture the spirit of the Joker as a villain that you can laugh at while still being intimidating as all fuck. A sad reminder of how great Ledger was in the role. Number 10. I Don't Care, The Fugitive. Another improv involving Harrison Ford, but this time he's on the receiving end from Tommy Lee Jones' tough-as-nails U.S. Marshal. As Ford appears trapped on the ledge of a dam, he has his first confrontation with his hunter, pleading with him that he didn't kill his wife. Jones' ice-cold response of, I don't care, helped to define the actor as a hard man of the 90s. The line, though, was totally unscripted and originally said, that isn't my problem, which is nowhere near as intimidating as Jones' stone-cold badass ad-lib. Number 9. Here's looking at you, kid. Casablanca. Yep, even during the old Hollywood days of the 1940s, actors had the opportunity to input awesome moments. The line that was never in the script was actually an inside joke between Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman that apparently originated while they're playing poker on set. For some reason, Bogart added it in and a legendary line was born. Oh yeah, and Play It Again, Sam is never actually said in the film, so next time someone quotes it, you can feel pompous by correcting those film noobs. Number 8. The Hiss. Silence of the Lambs. The world's most iconic cannibal, Hannibal Lecter, made his most famous appearance here, played by the great Anthony Hopkins. Hopkins plays a character with a cool, collected intellectual facade over a psychotic murderer. In a key scene where Lecter describes how he ate a man's liver, the man-eater lets out a psychotic, slobbering hiss that became an instant quote that people would say when they left the cinema. But while audiences found it creepy, on set it was hilarious. Hopkins added the hiss in as a joke to creep out Jodie Foster, and it worked really well. So well that we're sure it's what got Hopkins his Oscar. Number 7. Hey, I'm walking here. Midnight Cowboy. Great improv is the type of improv that almost kills you, the type between genius timing and horrible accident. That's the case with this classic Midnight Cowboy line. When Dustin Hoffman is almost ran over by a cab while crossing the street, he lets out this awesome insult to the impatient taxi driver. But not a single part of it was planned, other than crossing the street part, that is. Turns out a real cab driver somehow got onto the closed street and almost ran over the movie star. This line is Hoffman's actual reaction to almost being killed on film. Number 6. Funny how? Goodfellas. Before he was getting mutilated by Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci was able to put out some dark and violent performances, but still keeping his comedic edge, best represented in Goodfellas. The intense moment that causes Ray Liotta to look like he's about to shit his pants was actually based on a real event that Pesci had experienced when he called a real-life gangster funny when he worked as a waiter in his youth. Scorsese had been told the story by Pesci and got him to improv the scene, creating a truly menacing moment that perfectly sums up the volatile character. Who thought someone so tiny could be so pants-wettingly scary? Number 5. Tears in the Rain, Blade Runner. Things look good for Rutger Hauer when he came up with a good improvisation for his characters in the sci-fi classic. Cherry-picking lines from a long death monologue that was in the screenplay, Hauer added the last lines, creating one of the most poetic death sequences in cinematic history. There's even footage of Hauer breaking into laughter right after the line because he isn't really sure what he's saying. And hey, Harrison Ford was in the scene too. Is this some kind of Illuminati conspiracy? Number 4. You're gonna need a bigger boat. Jaws. When the mechanical shark raises its head out of the water to play peekaboo as Sheriff Brody, he casually remarks that he may have screwed up by taking a tiny fishing boat out to the hunt. Improvisations were actually encouraged on set to help bring a lighter tone to what Spielberg felt was quickly becoming too dark. This actually also meant hiring Carl Gottlieb to rewrite a lot of the dialogue as well as allowing the actors to add their own brilliance. This one is pure Schneider. Number 3. You talking to me? Taxi Driver. Another gem from a Scorsese film, the often misquoted scene was totally the product of De Niro coming up with random shit. Originally, the script called for De Niro to just stand there menacingly like he does for most of the film, further showcasing his descent into madness. But the talented actor decided, fuck that, I'm gonna tell this mirror who's boss. And boy does he. The mirror would have been scared out of its goddamn mind, and that's before Bicky even shaves his head into a crazy mohawk. Number 2. I know. The Empire Strikes Back. Dear God, is this an Illuminati conspiracy? Is it a contractual obligation that there must be an improv line in every Harrison Ford movie? This classic exchange of love has become a signpost quote for any geek couple that wants to express their feelings while still being badass. Apparently, Lucas was very unhappy with Ford's brilliance and had to be convinced by director Irvin Kershner that it was awesome and should stay in the movie. Once again, showing that Lucas has no idea what he's doing. Number 1. Here's Johnny! The Shining. Perhaps the most iconic line in any horror film ever spoken was in fact the product of Jack Nicholson just being crazy. Deciding to use Johnny Carson's iconic opening announcement as a way to scare the shit out of everyone was one of the few things that Kubrick didn't orchestrate on this film. Which, considering Kubrick's incredible anal obsession with detail, is surprising he'd let anyone do any improv ever. Then again, maybe old Stanley was just afraid Jack would turn the axe on him if he tried to cut it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.